Hello guys, welcome to episode 10, the last episode of this series. In this episode, I have decided to add the context API to the application. So this course is not about context API, but as the last episode, I decided to do that to take the application one step further. So, I have another playlist dedicated to context API. If you want to know more about context API and why we use context API, you can go ahead and watch the other dedicated playlist on my channel about context API. But basically, context API is used when you want to share some state globally with your components, with the different components that you have. So it's like a central place for the data that your components need, and it helps to avoid repeating that data here and there between your components, and to avoid something that we call prop drilling. So again, because this course is not about context API, I do not want to dive deep in the topic of context API, because I have done so in another playlist that I have. But again, to kind of wrap up this course, I decided to add this to one component, the theme toggler component of the application. So in this episode, we're going to understand what the context API is and how to use it. We're going to create a theme context to manage the theme across the components, because it is also a good candidate, right? Because the theme of the application is something that needs to be accessed globally by all of your components. And we're going to replace the theme and set theme props with a clean global provider. So what is the context API? The context API is one of the features in React that you can use when you want to share some global state, like for example the theme, the authentication, the language, across your components, the different components that you have, right? Without passing props manually at every level, which is something that we call prop drilling. So think of some global piece of data, something that needs to be globally accessible, and you want to share that with your components, with the different nested components that you have, without passing that piece of data to each component separately. So for example, the theme of the application, right? That's a good candidate. We're going to take this example, we're going to create a context for this, and we're going to pass the data through the context to the theme component. So the theme context is going to be created now. We need to create this file, themecontext.jsx, and this is the theme context that we have. So basically, again, I don't want to dive deep into the topic of context, but basically I am importing create context, use state, use effect, and use context. I am creating the theme context here, and I am creating the different pieces of code that I want inside of this context. For example, I want to have I want to have a state called theme, and the value is going to be loaded from local storage, and then I want to have a use effect to save the value to local storage. I want to have another piece of code to toggle that theme or the value inside of theme, and then I am going to return this theme like this. And of course, I want to create a custom hook for easier use. So from now on, I can use theme as a custom hook to access this context. So let me go ahead. I have already created, by the way, this new branch. This is episode 10, by the way. The theme context file needs to be created. I'm going to create this context folder and theme context.jsx. I'm going to write the code for our theme context. So again, if you want to know more about context, please take a look at the dedicated playlist that I have on the channel. But basically, remember that context is a way to share some piece of data that you want to be accessible globally, that you want to share with different components. And in our case, the theme of the application, I guess, is a very good candidate for this, because we want our different components to access the theme of the application. So the theme of the application has different parts. First, a state called theme, loaded from local storage. a hook, a use effect hook to save the theme to local storage, and then a function to toggle the value inside of the theme. And then the theme context.provider, and we are going to have this theme context provider. Now let's add that, custom hook for easier access. The name is going to be use theme. We're going to use theme to access this context. I'm going to remove this part as well. Now let's continue. The next part is to wrap the app, the application with this theme provider. So inside of our, file, we need to import the theme provider, and we are going to wrap the application with our theme provider. So let me go ahead to main.jsx, and I am going to wrap my component, my app, with the theme provider. And we need to import a theme provider as well. So the next step would be to wrap the app with the theme provider. So inside of our main.jsx, I am going to wrap my application with the theme provider we just created. So let me take you to the main.jsx. This is the app. What I am going to do is to wrap this with the theme provider that we just created. So we're done with this part. Now let's continue. We're going to update the app.jsx. We are going to remove the theme state, remove all theme related state from state and props from the app.jsx. So inside of our app.jsx, if you take a look here, we have the theme here. This has been moved to that context, so I'm going to remove this, and this has also been moved to the context, and we need the books, of course. We need these two. This is for the books and the filtered books, and that's it. So we have removed everything from the app.jsx. Now the theme toggle component also needs to change, because we are now going to use the context. So we're importing that custom hook we created, use theme, right? And then here, as you can see, I am using use theme, and then I am capturing or destructuring whatever that hook returns into two different pieces of data, theme and toggle theme. So toggle theme is that function inside of the context, and theme is that local state. And then we have the button as before. The on click will invoke the toggle theme from the context, and the content of the button is also going to be dynamic. So let me take you to the application, the theme toggle, right? So this is the component that needs to change now. So I am going to write the new version. So importing that use theme from that context class, context file we created, using that hook, capturing the theme and toggle theme, and returning the button. And then exporting this. So right now this component doesn't receive any props anymore, so we need to go to app.jsx, and we need to remove the two props of this theme toggle component. Let me refresh this. It says theme toggle JS. So I guess I need to go to theme toggle, and I need to change this, right? The other error that we have is for this file. So the context and the theme context. Now let me refresh, Again, it seems we've got an error. So let me go to the console, and it says theme is not defined at app.jsx. So what I needed to do is inside of the app.jsx, because of course we're using the theme to add some CSS classes here on the div, I need to import the use theme hook and then capture the theme, the value inside of the theme into this variable, and then use it here to add our CSS classes. So if I now switch to the dark theme and the light theme, I see that the application is working now. The theme toggle, when we invoke it, we have a shorter, more concise syntax. The theme of the application is being managed inside of this context. Other components can access this. It's going to be available globally. For example, right now I am accessing this theme, the value inside a theme, whether light or dark, not only from the app.jsx to add some CSS classes here, but of course from the theme toggle component. The theme toggle, as I told you, doesn't receive any props now, so it has become cleaner. Now we need to continue with this part. So the theme is now globally accessible. You can use theme anywhere to access the theme or toggle theme from the app.jsx or from the component itself. No more passing theme and set theme as props. So the key concepts, we learned about context a little bit. Context is a way to share some global data with your components, not only data, but also functionality like behavior. So it creates a global context object, wraps children and provides values, access context from any component, and it removes that prop drilling. So prop drilling means when you need to pass props repeatedly through the different nested levels of your components. Now it's being avoided. Now we know how to share the state globally using Context API. We have removed the prop drilling, and the component and the hierarchies of components are simplified, and we know how to refactor an existing state into our context. Now the tutorial is finished. Right now we have a well-structured, clean, and full-featured React app. We are persisting data. We are reusing granular focus small components. We have custom theme support. We're using Context API for global state. And we have very practical features like searching, filtering, and toggling. And I suggest you continue learning, right? You suggest you're learning by watching the other playlists on the channel. For example, you can continue by watching that playlist about MobX for state management, or other playlists that interest you. Just browse the playlist and you will find a lot to learn. Thank you so much for watching the playlist till the very end, and I will see you in the next one.